So there's self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Who would you say was the best?
I would vote me on self-awareness. I wouldn't vote you on self-awareness.
Here's my honest opinion, respectfully. I think I was better at 4 and she was better at 1. I put my hand.
Ooh, self-awareness?
Yeah.
You thought you were better at self-awareness?
Yeah, I think self-awareness is both of us.
Social skills?
Social skills for sure.
Other people?
Other people for sure.
You think you were better? Thank you all so much for tuning in to Sam and Jen Got Divorced. We are here with another great episode for you. We hope you learned something. Our marriage didn't work, but maybe our podcast will. We've got great guests in the house for you today. Sit tight, stay tuned, learn something. I'll let you introduce our special guests.
So today our special guests are 2 people who are very near and dear to my heart. We have Timo on my right, and we have Valeria on my left. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for jumping on.
Yes, thank you for having us. It's an amazing opportunity. I love following your journeys so far, and it's glad to be here and be a part of this.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much.
Today's topic is who carried the relationship emotionally. I first met Genevieve in London, and she was a friend of a friend, and got to know each other there and talk back and forth. We've just been able to talk through some stuff on a personal front. And then on a different front, I was meeting Samuel at my church, and he stayed over at my place, and we started to get to know each other and stuff. And then I think it was a couple months afterwards, Samuel and I are at this event. And he goes like, man, I'm thinking about starting this podcast. This is so cool. Like I'm thinking about doing this. I'm looking for somebody. I don't know if you may know somebody who's like very thought provoking, very direct, able to share her thoughts, different things like that. I'm looking for a woman to share a podcast with. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I have this amazing friend, Genevieve. And he goes like, wait, what? He goes like, Genevieve? I was like, yeah. He goes like, my ex-wife is named Genevieve. I was like, what? I felt awkward because I was like, oh man, like nobody told me this. He
What
goes, like,
kind of cat did I let out the bag? Wow.
He goes like, what, you didn't know? And I go like, no, why would I know that? She said that she was divorced. You said you were divorced. I'm not going to think you guys are together. Why would I think that? So it was just a small world. And so it's crazy to be here.
It's ironic because I was planning to start a podcast with unnamed female co-hosts independently. But this is when Genevieve and I hadn't talked for 4 years. Yeah. When Genevieve and I first talked for the first time in 4 years, the end of that conversation, Genevieve said, we should do a podcast episode together.
No, I said you should come on mine.
You said both.
I said no. I said you should come on my podcast because I was talking about divorce.
I
did say both.
I interpreted it as both. I heard both.
I did say both, but the initial comment was, "Oh, you should come on mine." That's true.
And I will do it again.
And it was great.
It's a great podcast, yeah. Relationship series.
Yeah. We're talking about who carried the emotional toll or emotional side of a relationship. What is your take on carrying a relationship emotionally? What does that look like for you guys?
So there's, when I think of who carried the relationship emotionally, I think
we're supposed to vote. Oh, we don't know.
Oh, we are supposed
to vote.
Wear our shoes.
Okay, so you're gonna do your right hand as Genevieve, and you're gonna do your left hand as Samuel. Okay, you're gonna close your eyes. But the question of the day is, who carried the relationship emotionally?
Okay.
Guys, gonna close your eyes.
Okay. How do you want us to indicate this?
You're pointing either to yourself or to the other person. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, that is interesting. Okay. All right. So
she has 2 fingers pointing at herself. Wow.
Genevieve, we'll throw this question to you then. Why do you think you carried a relationship?
Why did I vote for me? I'm always going to bet on myself. If nobody else is going to bet on me, I'm going to bet on myself. No, I think when it comes, and we've talked a lot about what happens in relationships. And we can be the smartest person in the world, know all the math in the world. But when it comes to relational intelligence and emotional intelligence, it's a completely different skill set.
Right.
Right. And the approach is also very different to learning those set of skills. So in our relationship, and maybe I'll say this as well, relationships sometimes can bring out the worst in us and the most unexpected in us. Right. Because it's an emotional space. It's not like, I can do the math formula or add the ledger on the accounting books or whatever. Like, it is an emotional space, and emotions can sometimes be unpredictable. And that's just the truth. So our job is to manage them and to regulate them. When I think of carrying a relationship emotionally, I think of safety first. So I think of, are we safe in this relationship emotionally? So are we safe to express ourselves? Are we safe to find empathy and understanding in our expressions? Are we okay with ourselves? Do we understand ourselves and how we come across, how we present, or how we affect and impact the other person and the climate or culture of the relationship? I think of all those pieces.
Okay.
And one fundamental, like, if not the most important, it's up there in the top 3. One fundamental way that you can do that is by regulating your emotions. So knowing how and when to turn the dial up, how and when to turn the dial down. You have a handle on that dial, right? You turn up the temperature, you turn down the temperature. When I think of our relationship and how we both presented or handled it, I think to myself, Jen, you get a pat on the back for that, because you did a good job of showing up the way that you wanted to, right? With your emotions regulated, trying to keep the level head, even keel, and providing a space of safety for the most part, and safety in the best way I knew how at the time,
Right.
for Samuel to be in that relationship, and for us both to be in that relationship, but specifically thinking of him. So that's why I voted me.
I want to dig a little deeper into this in regards to who's carrying the relationship emotionally. For me, I see that as, let's say if my partner is going through depression, right? Am I helping that person along emotionally as well as my own emotions through it?
Yeah.
So how would you view that?
That's kind of why I answered the question the way that I did. I think there's either 4 or 5 pillars of emotional intelligence. Do you remember what the 5 are?
Self-awareness, regulation, empathy, social skills, and
Motivation.
Okay. So
there you go.
let me see if I even remember those. Self-awareness, emotional regulation, ability to motivate, and what were the other 2?
Empathy and social skills.
Social skills. When Timo thinks of emotional intelligence, he doesn't just think about emotional regulation, but he also thinks about being able to care for somebody else when they're going through a difficult time emotionally. What bucket would that fall under?
Or I would extend that. We always think of emotions as a negative thing, when emotions are also positive things.
Right.
So a positive thing would be, am I carrying the relationship positively, and like making sure that this is a fun marriage? What are we doing for fun? Are we spontaneous? Are we going on dates? Can't foster healthy and happy emotions. When I'm angry or my spouse is angry, am I helping to regulate that? You're saying, when I look back, who was fostering the most holistically?
Yeah.
Out of all
My
of
vote
those.
is still the same. I think Samuel is highly emotionally intelligent. He has blind spots, and I think maybe, is it blind spots? Well, yes, we all have blind spots, but maybe I'm viewing it as the actual behaviors, the actual way that he showed up in the relationship, right? So regardless of what I know he knows,
Right,
the way that he showed up was very different from the way that I showed up, and I would not qualify that or categorize that as like emotionally, what do you like, uplifting or carrying or supporting of the relationship health. I just wouldn't. But I know that he's very intelligent emotionally as well.
right.
But I'm talking about the facts, like what actually happened on the ground day to day.
And no fault to you in general. I feel like a lot of men, and myself included, do not know. Felt like I've developed some tools lately with that, but from the jump, I don't think we always know the tools to hold emotions.
Mm.
You know, if my spouse is coming crying to me, or she's upset about something with her coworker at work, sometimes I don't know how to hold that relationship. But is there an instance where you feel like you did the best you can in holding emotion, whether positive or negative?
Thinking about that question, it's a really good question, because I had a different answer prepared for the previous question. And so I'm trying to, I'm processing what you're saying.
Mhm.
I do think that there was times that Genevieve expressed emotions that I didn't maybe hold space or handle as well as I could have. Thinking of a specific time. Well, no, there was both. There was times I could have handled it better, and times I handled it well. A couple of specific examples come to mind. I talked in previous podcasts about Genevieve's desire for me to dress better at that time. I thought it was something that was unimportant. I thought we were focusing on the wrong things. I thought that people who want people to dress better are shallow and vapid and easily deceived.
Right.
And Genevieve wanted to be with somebody, felt it internally and externally, who cared about the way they presented themselves, made her, elicited good feelings in her.
Right.
She could probably say it better than I just said it, but that
Elicited.
elicited good.
feelings
You
in
can
her.
tell. You can tell still.
It's a drug. That's what it
Yeah. Like now, I'm more intentional about the way I present.
Yeah.
But it's still because I still think it's foolishness. Like I still think what really matters is what's on the inside. But I get now, my emotional intelligence has increased. I get now the effect that can have on other people either way more. And I got it then too. But I just thought, this is my wife. I thought I'm at home. Even if my employers and these strangers cared about how I presented myself, my wife should know me. She should know my heart, my character.
You want her to love you for you.
Exactly. I wanted to feel loved for
I
myself.
wanna be loved.
Yeah.
But on
Never
the
will
flip
you
side with
cry.
that is like we dress for the people that don't care about us, and then the people that do care about us, we don't dress for them, right? And you know, I've experienced it in myself in previous relationship where it's like, oh, like I don't get the best version of you at home. So that's I think that's where the value piece comes in sometimes. Sometimes it's not always communicated. I like you in this pants because it makes you look better, sexy, or whatever. Sometimes we don't communicate the value of that to the other person. But
I think we're talking about a lot of different things at once. At that time, emotional intelligence was a strength of mine. So even to the example that you're talking about, holding space for Genevieve's emotions, I feel like sometimes Genevieve was angry.
Yeah.
She never really lost her temper for the most part. She was great. She is great at emotional regulation. But when she was upset about something or disappointed, or like, from my perspective, overreacting to something or reacting strongly, I do feel like I was often able to react calmly, and also sometimes didn't. Sometimes I made the situation worse in the way that I responded.
Seems like Genevieve
Genevieve
has a different point of view on that. You did feel like he held space.
The human mind is just so creative. Building narratives.
The pathways, the neural pathways.
Come on, somebody. From tidbits of information that don't exist. So yes, I think to your point, yes, emotional intelligence certainly a skill. But I also wasn't, I think I've always been regulated, just in my expression. But I also wasn't as forthcoming.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like taking up space, for the most part, my model has been you give a lot of space, you give a lot of room. So listening and making space for everybody else and holding other people's stuff, like that's always been a thing. That comes more naturally to me than to share or be vulnerable or to be expressive or to ask for my needs to be met. Even if he had the capacity to hold me or to hold my stuff, I wouldn't necessarily at the time, and I'm learning differently now because I want different kinds of relationships. But at the time, I wouldn't necessarily give enough for him to exercise those skills or for him to build that kind of trust with me.
And I think that I saw that then. I could tell that she wasn't like emotionally expressive as me, or as maybe she could be or would be with time. When I'm saying that I was there, I'm talking about the few times that you did show strong emotion. And again, I didn't always handle those well. So there was times that Genevieve was actually visibly upset or snappy about how I was dressed or my refusal to want to improve in this area. Because ideologically, I didn't believe that
Right.
she was right.
Right.
So I wasn't looking
Really?
to, yeah.
Can you think? Give me an example.
Of what?
I don't even remember that
So-
being like a big issue.
I remember something happened. I don't remember what happened, but I remember it was something relatively small. And I thought it was small then, and I'm sure it was small now. If I remember what it was, I might confirm that. But you came home and you were like, I can't believe you did this. The marriage is over, right? And I'm like, okay, let's step back and talk about it. And then we went to breakfast, and then we talked about it. And I'm like, Genevieve, based on what you're saying, I don't think this is cause for the marriage actually to be over. I understand you're upset about it. And then you apologized. You were weeping. You're like, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have abandoned the marriage just over this. So that would be an example of me holding space for what was an emotional reaction.
I can't confirm or deny that
Yeah.
because I have no recollection of that.
So
But I will defer.
Here's what I want to say, and we can answer your questions. And I want to answer your
That is
questions.
so. Anyway, go ahead. It just doesn't sound like me. It doesn't sound like me. But
It generally is not and wasn't. I can probably count on one hand the amount of times that you express strong emotion.
I mean, there's strong emotion, then there's completely overreacting.
Yeah.
And
Well, you by your own admission, you said at that time you overreacted. So
interesting.
yeah, I wish I remember what it was. But anyways, here's my honest opinion, respectfully. When it comes to those 5 pillars of emotional intelligence, I think I was better at 4 and she was better at 1, which is why I put my hand.
Ooh, self-awareness.
Yeah.
You thought you were better at self-awareness?
Yeah, I think self-awareness is both of us.
Social skills?
Social skills for sure.
Other people?
Other people for sure.
You think you're better?
So
let's take a
break it
survey
down.
of our entire community.
Because- so
we
here-
will actually throw it over to Valeria.
Okay. Yeah.
Over the same topic?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Empathy?
What do you
Okay,
guys-
I'm
what do
gonna give you
think you guys
empathy.
were
Go ahead, Valeria.
the greatest
See,
at
Valeria's talking now.
in
I'm going to give you, yes, I'm going to give you empathy.
self-regulation and motivation. Okay, so there's self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Who would you say was the best at self-awareness?
I would vote me on self-awareness. I wouldn't vote you on self-awareness.
How do you define self-awareness?
Being aware of yourself and how you
Your
come across
emotions.
to other people and how you make people feel.
Mm.
Yeah. So I would say why I would say that I was better at that was I didn't give a rat's behind sometimes about how people felt about me. Thank you all for joining us today. Make sure if you haven't that you like, follow, share, subscribe. We'd love to have you, and we'll see you again soon.